and that's why we can't have nice things. So,
was it ever thus?
Yeah, ever thus. Anyway, hello everybody. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Interesting Modelling Company Sunday service. Going to change to the advertised programming, and that's one member of our happy we happy few, we band of brothers.
Get on with it.
Get on with it. Unfortunately, Spencer Pollard can't be with us this evening because
the sun came out.
Because the sun came out, and quote, he'd rather spend time in his garden with his good wife than with us. So fair enough. All I can say is,
I think that's disgraceful behaviour.
All I can say is your biscuits are toast next time, mate. I mean, they are. You're not even going to get a look in. So, yeah, I know. I'm just going to edit your. No, your mic settings are fine. You've suddenly gone all kind of garbly again, but don't worry. Also tonight we are streaming. We should be streaming in HD. So let us know what the video quality is like at the other end. If this experiment in HD works, then we might be going HD in the future. So,
I mean, I'm hoping that my connection is fast enough to upload to stream it, to push it upstream into HTTP, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine. It's fine that the server will serve it out at 1080p, but it depends if our connections will push it upstream to the server in 1080p. So,
well, we'll wait and see. Wait and see at the end of the show. I should go back and have a quick look and see how it all goes. Anyway, it's just an experiment and things, and we might go over to the HD service at some stage. So no, Spencer won't be with us tonight, unfortunately. So
it's a real shame because we had a real meaty one planned.
Well, we'll say tonight we were going to discuss two meaty subjects for you. We were going to talk about the hobby is dying, apparently. Yeah, the hobby is dying, apparently, which I touched on with Ivan during the week, which was a brilliant show, by the way. Good to have Ivan on. And secondly, that the hobby is unaffordable. But we will. I mean, you and I could discuss this tonight, but we really need to have Mr. P's input because, you know, it's a more rounded echo chamber then. So.
Yeah.
So
it's important we have as many people on here at the same time as possible, all with identical opinions.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes. So we'll do that at another stage. So, but we've got plenty to go through tonight because we've got quite a few project updates and things, and a live unboxing as well. So Drew, how was your week away at Bloodstock?
It was absolutely fabulous.
Good.
You can make as many jokes or whatever as you like, but after 18, 19 months of basically seeing nobody and doing nothing except for, you know, seeing close family and stuff like that, to actually be away with 20,000 other people of a similar mind, you know, listening to music for 4 days on the trot was just, you know, absolutely. You know, it was heaven. Basically, it was heaven, and that's best. One of the best sort of ways of showing that is the fact that I barely drank. It's, you know, it's a festival where you'd think you'd go and spend 4 or 5 days drinking and listening to music. I didn't abstain, but it certainly wasn't. I never got drunk at any one point in the whole festival.
That's me and you. That's me and you at the Porlock Weir Fest again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just there was too much. There was too much good stuff going on. Too many good people to talk to and catch up with. You just didn't. You know, the drinking happened, but it wasn't a huge part of it, if you like. So, yeah, it was. It was sorely needed, John. It was sorely needed, and very, very. Very, very much appreciated, put it that way. Let's say in the motorway service station on Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. I ordered my tickets for next year. So, you know.
Wow.
Although I have to say that anxiety-wise, whilst I had a brilliant time, it has made me think more carefully about stuff going forward with Telford and stuff like that, which is a discussion that needs to be had because we haven't heard anything yet, have we?
No, they're likely to make a decision at the end of the month. So, you know,
I think there's an ongoing discussion that needs to be had there surrounding COVID and crowds, because a lot of people who went to Bloodstock have since posted on some of the forums that they've tested positive. So it's still, the Delta variant is still doing the rounds very easily. It's going to happen with 20,000 people in the field together, effectively, and camping in the same place. It was bound to happen. So far, I've escaped doing all the lateral flow and 1 PCR tests. We'll see where it goes.
Okay, I've just adjusted my microphone volume, by the way. So if I'm quiet or too loud, do please let me know.
By the way, that's iced tea. So,
by the way, that's Miles tea in a rather splendid Apollo moon landings mug that my friend Pip bought me for my birthday last year, and it's an Emma Bridgewater mug. So
I like that.
What can I say? This week I had cake in a coal wagon. So
that train station. Is that
Sanford's train station. Do you know where Sanford's train station is? Right opposite
Sanford.
Yeah, well, you're not that Sanford, not for the greater good, not that Sanford. It's right opposite the Thatcher's cider works.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I didn't buy any today. But anyway, welcome to the interesting drinking company. We are. Well, we got Cat Lovell on tonight, and Cat knows the brewish at Wick St Lawrence. So very good brewery that. Anyway, good evening, Cat. So we're going to play catch up tonight on projects and things. We've got our workbench cameras all set up. How exciting! In HD. So what should we do project, or shall we do the unboxing first of all?
I mean, if I'm totally honest, I haven't really done a lot since I got back from Bloodstock. I think there's my stuff is mostly packed away. There's stuff to talk about in terms of my projects. But
that's fine.
So I don't mind. Do you want to do that first, or?
Yeah, let's do you. Let's do you first.
Do me. Well, yeah. The Boeing 757 that I was busy beavering away with before I went away, it's hit a bit of a minor roadblock, which has nothing to do with the kit and everything to do with the decals.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's aware of the Icelandair scheme with the white top sides and the blue undersides, but there's a very small yellow cheat line that's just inside the blue, and for whatever reason, Zvezda, in their infinite wisdom, didn't give it a white backing. And it's one layer of yellow ink and no white backing. So basically, it just goes into this really dull, chromatey color against the blue, which is not good enough. And so it's kind of hit one of those roadblocks where you just go, I can't be bothered with this at the moment. I'll pack it all away. The kit's fine, and I'll pick it back up when I've got the enthusiasm to deal with the issue, shall we say. But the problem is as well, it's a cheat line that sits inside the blue. So there's also a very, very fine trim of blue above it before the white. Yep. So it's not the yellow doesn't separate the blue and the white, if you see what I'm saying. The yellow sits actually entirely inside the blue. So it makes it especially difficult to deal with. And so I just kind of went, it will get dealt with, but I just put it to one side for now and pick the Beaufort up again. You can see there. I mean, it's that. In fact, that the yellow cheat line there is sitting too low anyway on that model, which is another issue. But I
think that may have been painted.
I think that probably has. You can see the kind of effect you're trying to achieve. But when the decal has got no white backing, the decal on the tail you can see there has got the white backing, so it's actually quite vivid. But the cheat line decals haven't, so it's a real issue. I'll deal with it eventually, but at the moment, you know what it's like. Sometimes you just go, I'm just going to put this in a box and shove it to one side for a while.
Technically, that white bit is called a trap. A trap.
I know. Yes. But I was using
layman's terms. Yeah.
So.
So you're back to the Beaufort scale.
I'm back to the Beaufort scale, and dealing with the nose transparencies. which fit okay, which fit not too badly, but it is one of those things that's going to need quite a bit of finagling over the next day or two before I can move on. Just one of those, typically British tons of glazing in odd shapes and places things that we tended to do back in the 30s and early 40s, which makes it not a problem, but something that sort of holds construction up a little bit while you deal with it.
I'll say the glazing on those Blenheims and Beauforts and other aircraft, it was not only was it designed to offer the observer and navigator a good all-round visibility, but also somewhere to grow their tomatoes.
They were very, very framed. I mean, in fairness, the early the early Mitchells and stuff like that were the same, weren't they? They were very, very heavily framed. But as you get later into the war, you see like the late A-20J Havoc and the A-26 Invader with a glass nose, and it's this beautiful one-piece plexiglass sort of molding with no framing in it at all. And you're like, oh, that's just heaven, and be so easy to do. And
asymmetrical on the Bristol aircraft for some reason.
Yes.
Oh, no. Sorry, the Beaufort isn't. The Beaufort is.
Yeah, the Beaufort is asymmetric because there's stuff on the starboard side that isn't on the port side.
Right, but the rough shape is symmetrical. I was thinking of the Blenheim 4 for some reason, because that's got that kind of.
The Blenheim 4 was asymmetrical, but the Blenheim 5 wasn't, was it? The Bolingbroke went back to that, had a longer, pointier clear nose that was actually symmetrical, I believe. But yeah, it's just those. It inevitably results in quite a lot of messing around to get all that in place and looking good. And the same with the turret, which you can't fit without putting that shroud in. To fit that shroud, you have to put the turret in first, which then leaves you with all sorts of challenging masking jobs on the turret and painting and stuff like that. It's not the fault of Airfix, it's not the fault of the kit, it's the fault of the original design. Thanks for nothing, Bristol. But we'll get there. It's just these things are sent to try us, aren't they?
Wouldn't be modelling without a challenge, though, would it?
No. So nothing I've come up against has been insurmountable. But for the Boeing 757, that's just gone on hiatus for a while, and the Beaufort, I'll a couple of days of playing around with it. Yeah,
I'll draw your attention to Bristol Beaufort focused build. Kind of it's a bit unfocused at the moment, isn't it? Because I've not seen anything from Jen. I haven't seen anything from Spencer. It's kind of like, this is super focused. How's it going? Yeah.
Well, mine is still going.
Yeah, I think we need to start cracking the whip there and actually, let's be focused. So let's focus. Focus, team. Focus.
All right.
All right. Okay. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to whiz through projects here, or shall I do the exciting unboxing?
Whiz through the projects. Come on.
Okay, let's whiz through the projects. Right. Okie dokie. That's bing. Oops. I've got windows open. Yeah. So close that one and close that one and close that. There we go. As you may have seen on the timeline, I've started working on getting rid of that bizarre seam on the Zvezda Hurricane. Now, I had a chat during the week with Matt Whiting at Hornby, because he designed all their Hurricane kits, and I was saying to him, how could Zvezda have done this slightly differently? I would have preferred it if they'd have actually molded, and I'm just, rather than the red pen, we're actually using blue pen tonight, but I would rather they would have molded that entire section to the upper wing, and then you just drop that lower wing in place, and then you get your nice sharp trailing edge and everything. He was wondering whether or not something like that you'll end up with shrinkage and sink marks or whatever, in which case, to be honest with you, the plan B would have been to have just molded the entire wing just as solid upper and lower pieces, and not worry about the fact that you're going to end up with a slightly thicker trailing edge from having the trailing edges molded on the upper and lower surfaces. Having this join line, as you can see, which splits along the flap like that, it's just a real bind to deal with. I
think we have to be cognizant of where the kind of where this model is aimed.
Well,
this is aimed at an absolute beginner who is not as demanding as us.
But in that case, then it could have been molded to the upper and lower, and the market wouldn't have minded that the trailing edge was going to be a bit thicker. They've gone as far as doing really nice, enthusiastic touches, like having the nav light and the landing lights as separate pieces, as actual clear parts, which is nice. So it's a rather kind of curate's egg of a kit, really, because there are some bits in it which are enthusiast touches, like, for example, the separate kind of I think it's the oxygen bottle in the wheel well. That, there's little things that are really nice little touches, but then there are concessions to the snap build things. Again, having this seam line running along the leading edge of the wing here, where it doesn't really match any panel lines. Again, I'd have rather it had just been straight along the leading edge and just done it that way. There are, like I say, there's a couple of accuracy blips. It's the wrong oil cooler, and it's got, apparently it's got a Super Constellation spinner on it. Apart from that, the thing is, in terms of the actual molding quality, this is top stuff. Yeah, this is top dollar. The surface detail and the actual sharpness of the molding is, this is top dollar stuff. This is kind of fallen between two stools, this one, because you can understand Zvezda are aiming this at the easy build market, and yes, you can say that these parts breakdowns aren't going to be things that the more general market aren't going to be bothered about, but then they throw in kind of little enthusiast touches. So it's kind of like, try and serve one market or the other. By doing it, it's ended up being a little bit compromised. That said, I mean, I'm liking the look of it. I think, as you can see there, the thickness of the nose, it's chunky enough for me. And
that looks like a really nice model to me from here.
But if I am to be honest, and I think honesty is the thing that we try to be on this show, and we hope we are on this show, is that there are some nice ideas, but this kit just slightly it just misses the mark in one or two areas, which is a bit disappointing. But then again, it's like I say, it's not aimed at the armor market, if you part, not armor, ARMA rather. It's not aimed at that enthusiast sector. This is very much aimed at people who, are building, who've built very few kits. So
and given Zvezda's market penetration almost everywhere these days, which is basically the same, I would suggest, as someone like Revell. It's going to be freely available. Would I pick that kit to build a Hurricane 2 from? No, because I got the armor kit. And I would pick the armor kit over that because of the variations and the detail levels and stuff like that. That doesn't mean it's not a great kit. It just means it's not one that is aimed at what I want from a model.
Yeah, I would have no hesitation in recommending this to somebody who's built very few models, because it does the job. But as you say, if you're an enthusiast and saying, well, is it worth me building one? You've got to come into this being aware of the parts breakdown and some accuracy issues. It's just with a little bit more care, they could have actually serviced both markets quite nicely. So
it's difficult to argue, but on the other hand, are they bothered about servicing those markets?
Yeah, well, precisely. It's just tiny little things that would have made the difference. But hey ho, we're going to crack on with that, and we're going to try and get that finished in the next.
But it's certainly looking like a lovely model from here. It's certainly looking the part from here.
Yeah. The only concession to accuracy, and for those who believe that these things should be, finished absolutely, using the same brand paints and everything, I am actually going to correct and spray the markings in the correct dull red color, so that is. I am going to deviate from the target slightly, but
oh my God.
As much as I'd like to do a camouflage one, I suppose I could. No, actually, I might do it as the Russian one. I'll do it as the Russian one. There we go. Everybody's happy then. I'll do it as the Russian one. So anyway, that's that. Next, the Rubicon 156 scale LRDD Chevy. I was messing around and put down some coats of paint. Now, this is horribly pre-shaded, you'll notice, and the reason for that is I've been messing around with the Ammo of Mig shaders, Starship Filth, terrific film, and these are very, very interesting because they're almost pure airbrush inks. They're water based. They are very, very runny. One little bit of heavy handedness with these, and they are spidering all over the place. So you really have to knock the pressure down and apply these in very, very thin layers. The other thing is, it says on the bottle that airbrushed shaders dry completely in 24 hours. I can attest to that because I started putting the coat of light sand over this about an hour later, and it was not knocking back the shaders because they were still in an active state and they were still kind of like seeping through the paintwork.
Feeding through.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder if the inks are the same as you'd find in a Sharpie, because it doesn't matter how long you leave Sharpie on a model, if you put any kind of paint over it,
yeah,
it will bleed through. And I've left it for months and put a paint over it, and it still bleeds through. And there's a very, very technical reason for it, involving all science and stuff that I don't really understand. But possibly that is never going to stop happening.
Well, we could do a live demo tonight and see if I can cover it with another coat. But
the problem there is, John, you will cover it with another coat. It'll take a couple of days for it to start bleeding through again. That's the because that looks to me like that's completely bled through, hasn't it?
Well, I was putting these colours on in very, very thin layers. So, and because the thing about these are the AK paints, they dry very, very matte. They dry,
right?
You know, very, very, very matte. And I've tried even mixing in a little bit of satin varnish into them, just to kind of give them a bit more, a bit more kind of a sheen. I think this will obviously get a coat of satin varnish at the final stage, but this is literally just a preliminary coat of the light sand. So I will be going back in there and toning it back down again. So if this ends up being a little bit overly kind of like post shaded or pre shaded, then fair enough. I can live with that. Sometimes you have to make the wrong turns in order to make the right turns. But it's an interesting product. But and it sprays beautifully. But as I say, you have to be very careful with it. A bit too close or a bit too heavy-handed, it will start spidering. So it needs to be really misted on. I'll tell you what, though, if they did kind of like RLM colours in these would be brilliant for mottling, because they really you can really build them up very, very thinly. So anyway, so we've got that's the LRDG 156 scale LRDG Chevy, which I gotta say is brilliant model. We've been watching Rubicon doing some test shots of some of their new stuff over the last week, and wow, I will be back for more of these. So thanks to John Walker for that. He sent that to us, and there's that. So similarly, I have been putting some work on the old Eschi Sherman Churchill, which Italy have reissued, and again I used the shaders on that, and you can probably see that they've actually kind of cut through the matte paint with a little bit of sheen to them.
Yeah.
So again, I will give this another coat. This is the AK khaki green. In the end, I decided to do the box top one from the kit because I didn't want to have too many kind of sand coloured models on the go at one time. So this will get another kind of blending coat. What
I'm picking up from this, John, is that because it's an ink-based product, and like we previously discussed, the bleed through and stuff, it definitely appears to me it's more designed for post rather than
post shading. Yeah, but sometimes you've got to go down that rabbit hole in order to learn.
It's a process of discovery, isn't it? But I can see how it would be very useful for post shading, but pre shading it's just gonna bleed.
Yeah,
because
Yeah, but we'll give it another, like I say, we'll give it another coat, leave it for a few days and see how it goes. But yeah, it's good fun. Nice old SU Sherman there coming back from Italy. So yeah, so that's that. And finally, and I didn't use the MIG oils, the MIG shaders on this because I thought, right, learnt me lesson now. And this is the Winds of War IBG cruiser tank, which Colin from Freight Dog sent us, and this is actually painted in Portland stone rather, which is very, very pale. I mean,
yeah, it's virtually an off-white, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's virtually an off-white.
But actually, this is a fairly accurate representation of what Portland stone was. It was a very
absolutely.
Yeah. So this has then got to have a straight camouflage coat of the kind of purple brown, which I've got a mask and spray onto this. That's going to be fun. But
at all.
We're gonna see how we go with that. But it's got to be said, put the coat of this on. The detail on this kit is phenomenal for a 72nd scale model. It's absolutely stunning. All that you're not going to see any of that. I don't know if you can see that, but no, the camera's too bright. But honestly, I'm sold. These are excellent kits.
Really nice.
I've done the tracks as well, so they're all.
What scale is that?
72nd.
72nd.
Yeah. So thanks to Colin at Freight Dog. This really is. I am be keeping an eye out on those IBG kits because this is essentially the reason they can do them so cheaply is essentially they do it as a magazine with a free kit. Therefore, that it kind of like doesn't incur the same VAT or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
IBG are top flight, aren't they? They're genuinely top flight. Yep. You can't really, certainly their aircraft models that I've got are just absolutely beautiful. So, more power to IBG. I say.
Yeah. We're going to say hello. Let's just have a run through and say hello to everybody who's watching tonight. So I'm going to say hello to Damien Mullen, Anthony Bird, Jason, David. I'll start calling him David Jason now. Jason David Bettis. Sorry about that, Jason. Douglas Hunter, Ian Goldstraw, Jim Castle, Paul Milligan, Mark Ryan, Stuart Bramner, Dave Swindle, Lee Suter, David Mummery, Mike Stoffco, Dougal McWoogle, Pavel Krupovic, Darren McGuinness, Joe Pestaglici, Christian Gerard, Brian Wilton, John Patrick Houston, who says, evening from the car modelers. We love cars on this channel. Stuart Moores, Greg Woodbridge.
Have I missed something? Have I missed something?
Pollard put me on the spot last week. Mark at Edinburgh Modelling Man Cave. Evening. Have we got to scrolls down. So it's got Colin Hands, Douglas Hunter, scrolls down. Roger Watson. Roger even says, evening, guys. Hobby is certainly not dying, and there are models for every budget. Exactly, which is something we will be talking about when we can get the full trio of the usual suspects all together. Kat Ludwell, good evening. Paul Brown, hi Paul, hope you're feeling well. Marino, good evening. Scrolls down. There was a comment here. Mark at the Modelling Man Cave says, Drew with an Arm on a Marth t-shirt, what a legend, Viking metal. Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to dig out the picture of you sat in the front room with your Viking helmet on. So
it exists, and the Viking helmet still exists.
Yeah, that's Christmas 2016 or something. So it was a long time ago. I got that from the National Trust shop at Dunster. So Steve Moores actually makes a comment about the Zvezda Hurricane. He says built to a budget. Well, this is kind of like this is something we're going to talk about again because you've got this. We will talk about this another time, but what the two things that you get from modelers, and I actually, we commented on the page this week, is that kits are either too expensive or they're tooled to a price. So, which do you want? It's
make your mind up.
Yeah, you can have one. Tristan Gerard says, on the other note, more and more manufacturers releasing cheap and easy kits for the novices hobby, like this Hurricane from Zvezda. Exactly, it is. As I say, it is a brilliant, affordable. It's a brilliant, affordable model. It's actually a very good kit. As a replica...
I'm desperately trying not to get drawn into this because this is a subject for another night.
Yeah,
I mean, I want to. I'm sort of champing at the bit to let rip here and thinking, no, leave it,
leave it, son.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So that's project update from me. Actually, also here we go. Hang about. Dear, let's just skip back to these. And I've actually been desperately trying to finish off the Panzer IV D crewman, and there's some bits of these look okay. Some bits of these, me painting all that kind of piping, that pinkish piping. At the end of the day, the problem I have is I am trying to paint these figures to the best of my abilities as if they're actually going to be standalone figures. They are things that are going to be on a tank, and they're not even the most important thing on the tank. They can be finished to a perfectly acceptable level. I'm trying to finish them to I'm trying to actually better myself, and it's like, again, rabbit hole.
Yeah, at some point you got to say enough, because it's it will draw the eye on the model, but it's not the focal point of the model.
Yeah.
So.
Just saying, are people seeing all the comments? Yeah, I think that people are seeing all the comments. I think everything's fine. Should we do the unboxing then?
Go for it.
Okay, let's just go. As you can see, I have been investing in Elon Musk's mission to Mars, or wherever he wants to go. So we have,
or Jeff Bezos even.
Well, one of them. They're super rich. I just know they're not going to be buying us tea and cake. So we will. Sounds of ripping, and I know what these are roughly. So, Panzer IV on the Battlefield, World War II photo book series, volume 16. Now, I bought this one. I was going through Panzer IV books on Elon Musk's Amazon, which instantly made me think it might not have been the actual proper Amazon.
It's a clue, isn't there? It's a clue.
Yeah, I was a bit suspicious about that. And this one came highly recommended, so I thought, okay, then we'll go for this one. So, oops, Daisy. Oh, goodness me! Because I've still got the Italeri Panzer IV to build, and I do like it as a tank. I thought it's worth investing in a couple of good books. So this was about 20 quid. But the selling point on this one was that apparently it has lots of just full page photographs. So we will let's just have a quick flick through, because some of you who are in the market for.
Oh yes, indeed it has.
Yes, exactly. It's got little explanatory text at the bottom, but in terms of modelling, reference, and inspiration, yeah, I think this is pretty good stuff, isn't it? Oh look, a Panzer 38T. Yeah, I like this. We're not going to go through all the pages, but essentially, it's
that's
good.
Very nice, isn't it? Very, very nicely produced photos.
Yeah, that's a solid investment. That. So I would say if you're in the market for a Panzer IV book, Panzer IV on the Battlefield 2 World War II book photo series, which I bought. This wasn't given or sent to me. I actually bought this. They do some more, actually. I'll just have a quick look at the back. They do some more. I just need to see what other ones they do, because I get the feeling there might be, at some stage, a bit of a spending disaster. So what do they do? T-34. Oh, you can never have too many books on the T-34. Stug 3. Oh, yes, please. More Stug 3. They do 2 books on the Stug 3. Oh, you like this one, Drew? KV tanks on the battlefield.
Oh, nice.
Panthers, Tiger. They do a 3rd book on the Stug 3. Goodness me. Su-85 and Su-100. Oh, they do another. They do another one on the Panzer IV, which I have to try and get hold of. Panther, Su-76. 4th book on the Stug 3. Panzer 3, yes please, and Panzerjäger. So yeah, do you know what? I'm going to have a look and see if I can see what prices I can get some of these at, because that is solid purchase. That I like that. You're impressed, and you don't even like German armour.
Well, that's right, but then knowing there's some KVs and stuff.
So we have another one from Elon Musk's Amazon. I'm beginning to think my Jeff Bezos Tesla is also a bit counterfeit. So, and this is POW, Images of War, Panzer IV at War. I've got some of the Images of War books, and they do tend to be very good. This was about a tenner, and yeah, paper quality is a little bit not quite as glossy, but you know what? It doesn't impact. Oh, some more Panzer 38s there as well. Panzer 35s rather, but it. I don't like this. I don't like this slightly kind of. They've printed it in a kind of like a slightly sepia tint,
right?
Which makes everything a little bit kind of fuzzy and grainy. So I'm immediately what I'm going to say is, compared to some of the other books, the photo quality in this is not as good as some of the other ones. And I think printing it in this slightly sepia thing is actually it's affecting the contrast. If they were black and white, it would probably be sharper. I'm not.
It's some kind of attempt to be sort of make it
artistic,
vintage, isn't it?
Yeah, but
not something we want as reference.
I mean, it still works as reference, but it's
not what we want from a reference, is it? We'd rather.
No, okay. No, it's still. I think this is very good. I mean, that's almost worth. That photograph is almost worth it for looking at how everything wears and how the stage is. So, okay, I was very impressed with that one. Yeah, an interesting blurred photograph. Okay, so this one I'm a little bit. Okay.
A little bit more on the fence about, but it's still a useful reference.
Very, very useful. So there you go. Live unboxings.
More books. I got a book the other day.
Go on. What book did you get?
It's a book on the
not those kind of books.
Fire forces in Rhodesia from 1966 to 1980. Because I've just suddenly seemingly from out of nowhere, I've just developed this almost obsessive interest with sort of Rhodesia between the Universal Declaration of Independence and becoming Zimbabwe.
Right.
Because it's an incredibly interesting and almost forgotten sort of tail end of empire.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And as with a lot of these things, without trying to get political, there was a lot more going on than the surface, the surface story would have you believe.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So I've kind of developed. I remember reading a lot about it there was a magazine when I was younger called War and Peace.
I know.
And I think my Rory's got my brother's got the entire range of it. But I can remember there was quite a lot in there about the Rhodesian Bush War, as it was called. But I've kind of become as interested in the political side of it as the military side, if you know what I mean. So I want to learn more about it in the lead up from sort of the end of World War II up to becoming Zimbabwe. So I'm kind of scouring through Amazon myself. And sort of looking for books to pick up on that because there are some great modelling subjects in there as well, armour and aircraft. So yeah, that's where my book buying is going at the moment. Yeah, more to be bought. So yeah.
I must admit, those early Rhodesian aircraft that were in the dark green, dark earth camo with the roundel with the Asagi spear on them.
That's the guy on it, yeah.
Yeah, they're lovely schemes. They are.
There's a lot of it, and certainly through the later stages of the Bush War, where everything was basically dark green and dark earth. But there's a lot of some of the later Hunters and Canberras, and the Cessna 337, the Skymasters they use, which they call Lynxes. Some of those, there's just some great schemes, and it makes me really interested in perhaps building a few of them down the line. I'm looking at the new ICM 337, the Skymaster, or the Cessna 02 as they've done. So
Yeah.
you know, that's a drop fit for doing one of the Lynxes. So yeah, and as I said earlier this week, I'd really like. It's a shame there's not a 48 scale Alouette 3 kit, because you know they were the real workhorses of that war. The Alouette 3 were in the G and K car setups. So yeah, very interesting period in Africa's history, which is, you know, you set aside the political aspect of it to build it, and then you look at the political aspect afterwards and pick bones for it, because it was a lot more complicated than the surface would have you believe. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, right up to November 1980, they were still using Vampires, Canberras, Hunters. Oh look, there's a SF260 there as well. Look.
Yeah, the Britain Norman Islander, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
Dave Fleming will be able to tell us whether the Rhodesian Zimbabwe Islanders match the Airfix kit. I'm sure he'll be able to tell us one way or the other. But yeah, fabulous. We got a de Havilland Vampire T11 there as well.
Yeah, because they still had cannons, didn't they? So they were still being used, sort of, on the front line.
That's from Scale Guard Modding. I think that's 1984 or something.
Free decal sheet with it.
Free decal sheet. I've still got the free decal sheet, and a bit like this show, that artwork, made in Somerset.
Made in Somerset.
Mike,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it's Mike Keep, the late great Mike Keep. Where did he live? It was
somewhere.
Was it Wincanton Way or something?
Yeah, Wincanton, Shepton Mallet Way. But he always used to come to our the Oval Club meetings. Mike always used to come to the Oval Club meetings.
A man surrounded by his own eternal fog of cigarette smoke, I think is the best way of describing him. Yeah.
Indeed, but a more pleasant and helpful man you'd struggle to meet.
I spoke to him. Well, actually, I spoke to him. This is like wibbly wobbly time effect here. I spoke to him in 1994 when he rang me up to say that he'd been sacked by Alan Hall yet again. Apparently, he periodically got sacked by Alan Hall, but he rang me up and he said he's starting his own model magazine. Would I like to get involved? And I said, yeah, go on then, Mike. Yes, please. I said, what's it going to be called? And he said, Scale Aviation Modeler. And yeah, so
it's funny how these kind of all these things sort of collide almost, because Mike was phoning around and saying, you know, do you want to be a part of it? Will you do reviews for me and all this sort of stuff? And it's like, yeah, Mike,
but the tragedy there was that he was. I was at Castle Donington, 1994, and Mike was coming back from a meeting to do with getting the first issue of the magazine up and running.
Died of a heart attack.
And sadly died of a heart attack.
In a Holiday Inn sort of place, somewhere like that.
Yeah. Like I say, by all accounts, a truly lovely guy, and also just, you know, his artwork in Sam still stands up.
I can remember asking him at one of the club meetings one day. One evening, I wanted to know what the new colour scheme for Strategic Air Command B-52s was, because it was the greens and greys, the dark scheme, and he just said, "I'll just leave it with me. I'll get some stuff through to you." And about 2 weeks later, this big padded envelope dropped through my letterbox and opened up, and there was this series of like 2 foot by 2 foot pieces of paper with all the drawings, all the prints of the colour schemes on it for me.
You still got them?
Somewhere, John. Somewhere. They're probably in the attic somewhere.
Okay.
I've moved since then, but yeah, it was he just kind of that was the kind of guy Mike was. He was just an absolute gentleman. But this is when Mike Keep was at our every month, and Mike Eacock as well, bringing in bits and bobs each month for us to, nearly everybody in the club built the Martin Baker MB5 in stages. As he kept producing bits, he'd bring in a bag full of bits and sort of distribute them amongst people. So 1 month you had like the wings, and then the next month you'd have bits of the fuselage and stuff like that. And so many of them, so many of them were built in stages. God,
See, I'm not saying the Southwest is it. Back in the kind of the 80s, the Southwest truly was the the spiritual center of the modeling world. It's certainly the center, but the spiritual center of modeling in the United Kingdom. But when you look back on the 80s, you had Mike Keek was based in Somerset. You had Mike Eacott was based down in Dorset.
Chetnall, yeah, just outside Somerset, yeah.
Right. Gordon Sutcliffe with Contrail.
Yeah.
Where was that? Was that Shepton Mallet or
Shepton Mallet?
Yeah. At some stage, V-Day were based in the West Country.
V-Day and Chris Gannon.
But we're not going to talk about V-Day because the lawyers are kind of like they're like, cut it.
40 years on, the lawyers are still hovering.
You also had Gerald Elliott Vac Forms in Bristol.
Yeah.
You had PP models in Bristol, PP Aeropods in Bristol. You also had, there was another Vac Form company in Somerset. I'm trying to think who they were now. It escapes me, but it was like all these things were, the back in the 1980s, the old Southwest, suddenly goes a bit Wogan there, the old Southwest, was there was a lot going on in our little corner of soggy old England.
I remember in my local model shop, Model Kits as it was at the time, tiny little model shop, but at the back of the shop was a little section dedicated to vac forms. It was all contrail, rare planes, and former plane stuff. And a lot of the contrail stuff used to come in poly bags, plastic bags, sheet of moldings, set of instructions, sealed bag in there, and you go through them like you used to do in record.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
Going through them like picking through to see what was in there. Some truly terrible moldings, but some of the other stuff that Contrail did were remarkably good. Some of the bigger stuff and stuff like the Ferry F3F and stuff like that.
Handley Page HP42 Heracles.
Yeah, some of them were surprisingly good, and some of them were incredibly basic. But yeah, it was. Did you ever see the picture of Gordon Sutcliffe working on one of his models? And it was actually a picture in Sam, because I think it was like Sam visits Contrail models, and Gordon Sutcliffe is quite literally sat on his kitchen table, with like a wooden board, and he's working on a master, and he's literally just got like a pin vise with a needle in it, and he's scribing the panel lines onto this master, and it's like so basic, but but they were the pioneers.
Yeah.
They were the pioneers, and occasionally you'd see an absolutely amazing model built from one of those vac forms. One of those,
the models that Gordon Stevens always built for the photographs for the rare planes packaging. They always looked amazing.
Yeah, and you only ever painted the side that would be seen.
But he painted it beautifully.
Oh yeah. There's
some lovely metal finishes on some of those models.
My first vac form kit ever was the rare plane Spiteful, which I promptly sanded the tips of my fingers down on, because vac forms were new to me. I was 10 years old, for God's sake.
Very advanced building. I wasn't until I was about 16 that I built a vac form, and that was
it never got finished.
I know, and that was the Aero Club Miles Messenger.
Yes, yeah. Although I will say I did actually finish the rare planes Pucara when I was about 14. I did get that one finished.
That's fine, because if you'd have tried building the Puki Pucara when you were 14, you still wouldn't have finished it. Now you're 52.
Thank you.
51. All right. Okay. 51. Okay. Steve Moore says lots of light glare, John. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't have got JJ Abrahams to do the stuff tonight. Sorry about that. God, it's like watching one of his terrible Star Trek films. Actually, the first one's all right. But the rest,
move on.
So yeah, there you go. Oh, also Reheat, based in Wiltshire.
Yeah.
Doing that, and I might have to do a complete list of kind of the Southwest was the center of the modelling universe back in the 1980s.
Center of modelling universe, where?
Yeah, and the old Wings and Wheels model shop in Bath. Ah, yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Mm. Anyway, well, actually, though, it's you can actually say no, given how bricks and mortar shops are, or are kind of like starting to become a bit of a thing in the past. I think you probably find if you need to go and visit a model shop, you're going to have to either go to Antics or the Through Model Centre.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and until later on in the year a bit.
Well, we'll talk about that another time.
The email's gone out, John. So it's not.
Oh, it's out, is it?
Yeah, the email's gone out. So.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
It is pretty much public knowledge now that there's going to be a bricks and mortar model shop, another bricks and mortar in Somerset later in the year. So.
We'll try and clarify that a bit later on, but but we are, I know some people in this septic aisle, this sceptred aisle of ours, are kind of, don't have a model shop near them. Well, I say near me. I mean, okay, Antics is 12 miles up the road. It's a trip into Bristol. Frome is about 40 miles, but still, to me, it's great. It's like, to me, I think of the Frome Model Centre as my local model shop, and also in Weston we've got Premium Hobbies doing.
I put an order in with them just today. Actually, my first order with them. So
did I? Shall I actually just bear with? Oops, bear with. I did. I think we'll just very quickly. Oops.
Yeah, I ordered some of them today. So
I haven't broken into these at the moment for the simple reason that I'm still using this one, which has just become a brilliant, all-round, useful sanding stick for everything. And you're going to think, well, you're going to have problems getting into tight corners. You know what? These edges are so precise that I can actually sand small items with them. So I was so impressed, I bought the company. So I ended up getting the multi-pack, which is 220, 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,500, 2,050, and 1,400. I think this was about 15 quid odd.
Yeah, I ordered that very set today.
But I'll tell you what, son. Quite simply, this is the best sanding thing I've ever encountered. And I might actually order a set. They do some hardback ones as well.
Well, I will let you know when mine turn up.
Because as you know, with sanding sponges, over time, this will eventually happen.
They just break up.
But thus far, this is showing no signs of that whatsoever. So,
excellent.
Yeah, I am. So, folks, if you're in the market for some decent sanders, look up the Infini model sanders. They do, like I say, they do these ones which are double-sided in their foam, but they also do some which are kind of like a harder version. I will order the harder version so I can talk about them. But honestly, I am spending my hard-earned here. These are brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And that's from Premium Hobbies in
Weston-super-Mare, yeah. So, Steve Moore said, "Is there a directory of real model shops?" You know what? There used to be, didn't there? Back of scale models.
Yes, yeah, that did. Yeah, I don't think that would be current if you found a back issue scale models now.
No. Yeah,
they did used to be, didn't they? Used to be, several pages of like, well, just that addresses and phone numbers and stuff like that. But I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything current.
No. I'll tell you what, though. I always used to remember Railway Modeler, and they still do have the directory of model shops in the back. And those of you living in the southwest will probably remember that there always used to be the advert, pretty much, for decades, was for Max Williams at Lawrence Hill in Bristol, which was a fabulous little model shop, model railway shop with other modelly things. I remember my dad always used to take me there. And that was the first time I saw the Airfix Opel Blitzer come out. I had no idea they were going to do an Opel Blitz. I remember saying to my dad, "Dad, can I have that?" Dad went, "No, we haven't got any money." And I'm just like, "Can I have it, please, Dad?" No. And I just remember it being a little Aladdin's cave. It's one of those. as much as I kind of like, I've been doing the op-ed for Model Airplane International this week, and I've been kind of like saying that, as much as the past was good, where we are now with the models being released this is where I'd want to be. Having said that, though, wouldn't mind a little time machine trip back to Max Williams in 1975. I'd be.
Yeah, I'd like a little time machine trip back to going through that rack full of Contrail models like a record shop.
Yeah.
Just to sort of bring back memories, if you like.
But as the piece will say, nostalgia doesn't pay the bills.
No.
Which is something that we are going to talk about when we can get his Royal Pollardness back from his vacation in his backyard. We will get him back on the show, and we will be, like I said, we'll be talking about two things. Serious face. We'll be talking about two things: A, the death of the hobby, and B, this whole thing that the hobby is becoming too expensive. So, we will cover that, because I think on both counts, our little echo chamber will say no.
Yeah. Yes.
Yet, nine.
Spoiler. Neither of those are true, but we'll go into more detail.
But we'll go into. Here we go. John Patrick Huston says a modeler from Dagenham. It's not the start of some kind of limerick. The modeler from Dagenham created a list of shows, shops, museums treating to the hobby, and put it up on the web. We'll have to find it. Excellent, John. If you can find that, that'd be really useful to have. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. Well, I do like visiting a model shop, though.
It's always nice, isn't it, to be able to just browse. But you kind of lose touch with that very, very easily, don't you?
Yeah.
There you
go. Well, as I say, we've got the autumn coming up, so I think we should somehow schedule a meetup in Frome, really.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. Yeah. We'll do that.
It's pretty much equidistance for us as well, isn't it? Which is
it's about 35 miles for me. So, yeah.
I think it's 42 for me. So,
yeah, pretty give or take. Yeah, it's
excellent. Well, there you go. And I'm sure we'll somehow squeeze in tea and cake. You know us. So right.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. Yeah, it's a tea and cake trip with a model shop thrown in.
Indeed.
So. I mean, Luke, if you're watching, if you start serving tea and cake, then we just won't go anywhere else. We're yours. There'll be more shop spend. Let's put it that way. So, right. So, any other business?
I don't think so. I think it's been just a fairly generic conversation, hasn't it? But
it's been good tonight.
Covered a lot of ground. Maybe not discuss it right now, but I would point people, if you would, towards my blog and today's discussion or article, shall I say, on whether Johnson's Clear and Future are still relevant in 2021.
I, again, without wishing to sound like we're in some kind of echo chamber here, I would argue they are, because just would. Well, I would argue because you've met me, but
yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, we will. There we go.
There's the.
Where'd you get yours from then?
That Clear, I think, just came from Morrison's.
Right.
And Future, I got back in 2000 from when I went to San Francisco, and just a drugstore in sort of San Jose sort of area, and back in the days when you could bring this sort of thing back on the aeroplane. But as you can see, I mean, they're both sort of. I'm sort of down to the last quarter bottle of each now, and you see that Clear looks a bit yellow, doesn't it? Yellow, but it really doesn't show up on the. Whereas that is pretty much still completely clear.
Drew's modelblog.blogspot.com. We'll put I think we shared the link, but we'll share it again this evening. So there you go. Is Clear still viable in 2021?
Spoiler, yes, it is, but there's more detail on there. There's more detail on the blog about exactly how I reached that conclusion. Because, like I say, if I just show a couple of... so there's a couple of onto Tamiya flat There's a couple of light coats of Johnson's Clear. And there's some Johnson's Clear that was polished up with turtle wax.
I think you can also sand it, because it is just like it dries absolutely rock hard.
So and that is really, you know, you can. That's not leaving any mark in that whatsoever with my fingernail. So it's really, really tough stuff. It's completely relevant still. But,
just play catch up on a couple of comments here, and Herbert it's another. I'm from Dudley, so forgive me. It's Reuter.
Herbert de Richter.
Herbert de Richter. Just send us an email, Herbert, and we'll apologise to you profusely. Infinite sanders are indeed the best. The thinner, harder versions, is 600, are my favourite, and universal sanders. Right, okay, I'm definitely putting an order in for them. Lee Suter says, I've got the hardback ones and wet sand with them. They're really good. Yeah, absolutely. And somebody else commented on the Infinity Sanders, and I've lost where they've gone now. No, we lost them. Anyway, Joe Pestaglici says about the clear, he says they are definitely relevant regardless of some opinions. Paul Brown says you can still get Pledge Revive if you shop around, pretty much identical to clear. Philip Jones says, still have a couple of bottles, the original clear. We bulk bought them when word got through. Yeah, so that's kind of like, that's almost like toilet roll people, isn't it? It's like, why is that man got a thing of...
But I mean, you know, even stuff, you know, you can get the Alclad Aqua, which is a milky product that dries completely clear. It's basically the same product. I'm led to believe the only reason it's got the milky appearance is so that people don't confuse it. So that people don't confuse it with water. So it's a safety thing. It doesn't actually. It's not an active ingredient or anything like that. I was led to believe it was just something that was added to distinguish it from water, so people didn't take a swig of it. So, but yeah, I'll have to get some of that and give it a test as well and see what the verdict is. But yeah, it's still utterly relevant. It's still perfectly useful. And I'm gonna do a couple of models and use it on a couple of models going forward, just to prove it to myself, if nobody else.
But you know what? So am I.
Dogma, isn't it? It's somebody has decided that it's not any use anymore, or is somehow dangerous or risky to use, and is pushing dogma in direct contradiction of all the published evidence to the contrary. So.
What's that phrase you use? It's go by your results, not by your...
Yeah, you stand by your result. If you stand by your results, you don't have to stand by your method.
That's it, exactly. Do I have any other business? Yes, I do. It's just going to be very, very brief. Drew, what's the plural of Lego?
Lego.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, but it's... To anybody out there who still uses the phrase Legos, see me after the show. We'll be having stern words with you.
Pops on your house.
Yeah. I'm not looking at anybody in particular in Arizona who may run a resin casting company, but Lego, it's plural. And it's also capitals as well.
The plural of Lego is Lego.
Yeah, and incidentally, also, I'm just going to final kind of like ranty stuff for tonight. Let me just go back to, it was something that Spencer posted today, which even I didn't know. Then again, you'll probably say there's probably plenty you don't know, JM, and yeah, trust me.
This is the Eshy.
This is the Eshy thing. I didn't know this. I honestly didn't know this. I'm just trying to find it again. No, I think it's on his models page. Bear with people. Spencer's model kit box. No, it's not there as well. Goodness me. Let's just go back a sec. Talk amongst yourselves.
Sorry about it, people. Be in bonnet. Be in bonnet.
Talk about football or something. Let's just scroll down. Yeah, here we go. Spencer says, "Dear Modelling World, the name that you are grasping for is Esci, ESCI. Not Esky, right? So he's making the point. It's Eschi, capitals, not Eschi, as in capital E, SCI. Why? Because it's an acronym for Ente Scambi Coloniali Internazionali. Ente Scambi Coloniali Internazionali, ESCI. So it's always written in capitals.
I just think the entirety of the Italian nation has just burst into tears.
And they haven't even heard me sing yet. ESCI. And it should always be written in caps, the same as frog. Frog should always be written in caps, Drew, because frog stands for...
You know what? It's completely left me.
Unbelievable. You can tell we haven't scripted this.
Free rocket over ground.
No, flies right off ground.
There you go.
Right, which is why they called which is when they introduced the Penguin series of plastic kits. They called them penguins because penguins
don't fly.
So it's quite weird that we now think of Frog as being a plastic kit company. You go back through their history, a bit like Airfix. They started out completely different things.
Yeah.
A bit like this show. It started out as a model show and then just drifted off into a morass of nonsense.
Well, but we like to think that's why people tune in.
I sincerely, if I'm just trying to remember what we called tonight's show, I think I came up with some fantastic couple of words that I've kept in the thing. Yeah, a saburation of yapness. You can tell I found a new website of unusual words. So, yeah. Anyway,
right.
Anyway.
Until Wednesday then.
Until Wednesday. Might have a bit of a scheduling conflict on Wednesday, but I'll let you know closer to the time.
No worries. That's fine.
Yeah, I might be going down to Exmouth on Wednesday. I might have a day off to go to Exmouth. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, on that note, just to say thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Bless you. We really do appreciate you giving up an hour of your precious time to watch two middle-aged men from Somerset essentially kind of, like that. So we'll hopefully be back on Wednesday. If not, we'll be back on Sunday. And like I say, we are hoping to get back with Mr. Pollard so we can tackle the meaty subjects that we have trailed tonight. Beyond that, as always, we leave you with our blessings and our admiration and our forgiveness. I was going to say forgiveness, our appreciation. So on that note, it's been a long day. On that note, just remains for us to say, as always, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. So for myself and Drew, good night.
Bye.